Good morning, Mr. Jude Perera.
Good morning, Mr. Bopake.
We are going to talk about democracy and good governance, in Sri Lanka, the current situation. And as you know, the newly elected president and his supporters, they have pledged to make constitutional changes, and they want to reintroduce Westminster-type parliamentary system. Now, you have been a member of the Victorian Legislative Assembly for over 12 years. And from your experience, what changes would you suggest to establish a good democracy and good governance in Sri Lanka?
Thank you for the question. I think at the outset, I should make the point that I believe 100 days is a very short period of time for major constitutional changes. But there again, I don't know what the strategy of the new government is. You have any ideas?
Yeah. Now, actually, the 100-day program proposed by the new government, new president, it is aimed at changing the current executive presidential system. And they want to establish a constitutional council and independent commissions to strengthen the parliamentary oversight committees, bringing new electoral laws and right to information. There are so many other things they want to do, and also alleviating some of the cost of living pressures that are tormenting the people of Sri Lanka today. And all these measures are very much in the national interest, I think. The proposal to form a national government of all parties represented in the parliament to govern for 2 years after the general elections in April. I think it is also commendable. Those are the things that have been proposed as a measure to overcome the negative effects of the highly adversarial political system that has been existing in Sri Lanka for such a long time. And now, also, we need to recognize the fact that good governance is required to create the conditions that would enable promotion of sustained growth and development. And as a member of the Victorian State Parliament, would you be able to list few things that you may think worth taking into consideration within the first 100 days or thereafter even?
Yes, I have thought of few things. What I will do is I will list them.
Yeah,
Then, if you are interested in any of the areas, we can go in because I'm conscious of the time as well.
yeah,
Um, First, I personally feel very important thing is the fixed 4 year terms or fixed whatever terms.
yeah,
I guess 4 years is a reasonable term for a government, not too long, not too short. Individual member electorates with preferential voting, with periodical boundary reviews,
yeah,
electoral, sorry,
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah,
electoral commissioner's office should be resource enough to report enough, and it should be reporting to the parliament, not to the minister. It should be independently reporting to the parliament.
yeah,
Establishment of a bipartisan electoral oversight committee.
yeah,
Independent police commission and public service, I think they are working on that.
yeah,
Independent broad-based corruption commission. Identify, investigate and export corrupt conduct and police misconduct.
yeah,
Establishment of a bipartisan corruption commission oversight committee, which is always a bipartisan parliamentary committee,
yeah,
and bipartisan investigative committees.
yeah.
Uh, that's basically it.
Yeah.
The yeah.
Now, actually, in the context of Sri Lankan situation, I think some of the items you mentioned are pretty important and significant, and for establishing some sort of a system of good governance and rule of law system in Sri Lanka. Now,
And excuse
yeah,
me, I forgot one. The budget office.
yeah, yeah,
It's also very important one.
yeah. Now, I thought, sort of, if we could elaborate on a couple of things, like now in Victoria, especially, there is a fixed term for government, and then they have to dissolve the parliament and call for elections. And in some other states in Australia, they have a little bit of flexibility, sort of say they can dissolve parliament within the last year or so. And in Sri Lanka, obviously, it is quite different, sort of say 6-year presidential term. And after the end of 4 years, they can declare elections at any time, and they use state resources and all sort of things happening. So if you could elaborate on those fixed 4-year terms, and also probably it is also important to consider the bipartisan approach towards handling corruption. Now, allegations are there. I mean, it has been there for a long time, not only for the last government, it has been there for so many governments. There are allegations of corruption and bribery and misuse of funds and so on. So I think if we can deal with those two aspects, one is the fixed year terms and elections and compulsory voting probably, and the next one about the independent commissions and especially emphasizing on corruption.
Fixed year terms is really important because it is everything can be planned. Like if you have an independent, strong public service, they are the people really advising the ministers or the cabinet,
Yeah.
and then they know exactly, they have, public service has to be independent. Then they go and serve for an incoming government. Now here there's a called Red Book and Blue Book. That is from the previous government, next government, they have to prepare Red Book and Blue Book depending on which party, I can't remember. Then that is what the briefing for the incoming ministers. That's why here ministers can start work about, the next day they got elected.
Yeah.
So if for public service to plan those things, it is very much easier. And also everything else, budgeting and any other project, everything, that elections will be in 4 years on that particular day. For example, in Victoria, every last Saturday in 4 years, last Saturday in November in 4 years.
I see. Yeah. Now, what about, say, in other states, they have a little bit of flexibility? Say,
no. New South Wales is fixed terms.
Yeah.
We all had flexibility,
yeah.
but Victoria and New South Wales decided to go on fixed terms. When Steve Bracks was here, we changed those constitutional changes.
Yeah. So now, now from your point of view, fixed year terms are beneficial. But what are the disadvantages of a different system? Like, what is happening in Sri Lanka, for example, they have, sort of after 4 years, they can declare elections, but they still have 2 years.
Disarray. People are not expected, like there could be certain projects which needs to be completed, and it's not, which is very unplanned, like, if President thinks it's climate is best for him to go for an election.
Yeah.
That is for his benefit, President or whoever going for the election, Prime Minister.
Yeah.
But that's not in the best interest of the country, or that's everything. Will be in disarray.
Yeah, it creates some sort of anarchy situation, I think, because people don't know what is going to happen. Now, with regard to compulsory voting, now in Australia there is compulsory voting, and if people don't vote, then that particular person could get a fine unless they explain why that person didn't vote. What is the importance of compulsory voting? In Sri Lanka, I don't think there is compulsory voting. I'm not so sure, but
no. No. Well, isn't it a civic responsibility for people to vote? If they pay taxes, if they are going to raise issues with the government, they should have the decency to go and cast the vote. Now, if they don't like any of the candidates, they can stand themselves or make an informal vote. But because if you do, we know exactly the government knows how many informal. For example, in my last election in Cranbourne, there was 6.5 informal votes, which is 2,810. So we know, government knows that this number of people are either not interested and don't like to come and vote, or whatever reason, they don't like the system. But at least that is recorded. At least they had to go and make an effort.
It helps to assess the attitudes of people and how they are thinking about the existing political system. I think, that's useful.
Exactly, and also laws can be passed that anybody trying to prohibit people going to voting can be prosecuted.
If we move on to corruption aspects, now you pointed out that establishing a bipartisan parliamentary corruption commission oversight is important. Now, in Sri Lanka, obviously, there are so many issues with regard to this corruption issue. So, would you be able to elaborate on that issue?
Basically, there should be an independent corruption commissioner's office who is reporting to the parliament, not to the minister. And then there will be an oversight, bipartisan parliamentary committee from all parties. Committees, so that committee will have its oversight. It's like a monitor for the commissioner. And he should have the broad-based powers. So even to subpoena the prime minister. I mean, once they go back to the other system. That's the important thing. The important thing is how you set up the broad-based commission. Because you can give little powers or more powers.
In Australia, there are, I think, two issues. One is, there are committees or parliamentary corruption commissions. Is that something similar to ICAC at the federal level?
Yes. No, ICAC is New South Wales.
Okay. At the federal level, we don't have such a commission, is it?
No, I do not at the moment.
So I think, sort of in the Sri Lankan situation, I think it is very important because, sort of say, when a party comes to power, when they were in opposition, they would always raise allegations of corruption and all that, and then after coming to power, everything vanishes, and nothing is investigated and so on. So if there is, I take your point, it is very important to have some sort of an independent commission receiving bipartisan support so that they could investigate.
Important thing is giving them enough power. Power, resources, and reporting to the parliament.
I think that is very important. This bipartisan support, it is a significant aspect.
No, the committee should be bipartisan. Because the reason is, it's okay, in the next 2 years it will be a national government. After that, there will be parties independently getting elected into parliament and forming governments. So when you have a bipartisan committee, otherwise one party would try to cover things. Right? That's the whole idea.
Now, we are running out of time. We have a minute. But what we could do is we will have another session a couple of days afterwards. And we can discuss some other aspects. You listed so many things about election commissioners' office and also about police commissions, public service commissions, and so on. Probably it will be a good idea to discuss all those aspects. I think those aspects are very significant. The experiences here will be very significant for Sri Lanka. So I will use the next interview to discuss those aspects. And so thank you very much, Mr. Jude Perera. And it will be very useful for Sri Lanka to gain from your experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lama. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.